Means we've got to wait for the stream to fire up all across the beautiful fruited plains of the internet before we go ahead and get started. You know how it is after the weekend. It's a Monday. The cobwebs are on there. We're a little bit stiff in the lower back. You're like, oh my goodness, what the heck is going on out there? And so we have to make sure that all the tubes get connected before we get started. And it looks like they're alive and well. So let's do it, shall we? Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live. My name is Robert Gouveia. I am a criminal defense attorney at the R&R Law Group. We're located in the always beautiful and sunny Scottsdale, Arizona. And today, we're bouncing around a little bit on the show. We've got a couple topics that we are going to attend to. We've got Dan Crenshaw is in the house. Dan Crenshaw versus Alex Stein. Alex Stein, number 99. We've talked about him before. He's the hilarious guy who's like a hero, who was out there making fun of all these city council people at their little bureaucracies and was getting sort of reprimanded for it. And they were changing the rules. They were saying, you can't have 3 minutes anymore. You get 1 minute now. Well, long story short, he got into it with Dan Crenshaw, and the media said that he assaulted Dan. And we're going to have to unpack that. We've got video that we're going to have to tease out and see what's going on with that. I don't think so. We also have Adam Kinzinger over the weekend. He posted on Twitter that, my goodness, death threats, probably from those MAGA insurrectionists out there. And apparently they're going after his wife now and his kids. And they're saying that he's not a good Christian on top of that too. So he got a handwritten note. And, I was talking about this morning in our members post for our supporters and members. I was explaining that we have these two photos we'll take a look at today, and we're going to compare and contrast the handwriting, because some people on Twitter are saying, the handwriting of that terrorist insurrectionist who was threatening you, Adam, it kind of looks like yours. So I'm no handwriting expert, but we will have to put them up side by side. And then, of course, the big news over the weekend, and a video of mine went out on this morning, was about Joe Biden, the big collapse, the bike crash heard around the world. Something that might even lead to World War IV. Who knows? I mean, this was a big story, except it really wasn't, right? I mean, it was something that a lot of people on Twitter, a lot of the conservative side sort of ran with, but a lot of people in the mainstream media are like, well, Trump kind of walked slowly down that ramp that one time. And so, at least Biden's out there trying to ride a bike. And so there was a follow-up to that. We're not going to spend a lot of time on the bike thing, but Biden got asked about it while he was on the beach out there in Delaware over the weekend, and he stopped to have a conversation with some reporters, and we are going to spend some time on that because Biden is sort of shooed away from the reporters by his family. They really don't want him to talk about a lot of that. And so in order to jump into that, we have, my friends, the very big debut of the show notes mind map. Here's what we've got going on here. I want to show you this one. Now, we had the January 6th mind map, and we are going to, of course, keep that. But when it's not always going to be January 6th. We've got other things to attend to. And so we've got a new mind map to keep this all organized. We do have some events coming up. I'm going to share that with you later, but you can mark those dates down. We'll also talk about the community and the spotlight supporters and some of the shout outs that we used to really spend some time on here at the show. But today, you can see we've got the 620 show. This is the June 20th show. And these are the three topics that I've already outlined for us here. We've got Biden, Kinzinger, and Crenshaw. And so without any further ado, well, a little bit further ado, let me pause and say hello to... Oh, somebody said I'm not live on Rumble. Wait a minute. Is that true? Hang on a second. Let's do a quick refresh here. Is that true? Well, I don't know. Rumble. Oh, no, it says we're live. Former LEO, you're throwing me off over here. All right, so shout outs to former LEO, Bonnie Specs in the house. We have Tweaks over there, Wild Child, KT Sherlock's over on Locals. Big shout outs to Lean. Shout out to Lean over on YouTube. Ronnie Cole's in the house. Johnny Irish, Mark Haynes. Big shout outs to everybody. Lean says, Rob. Hey, Lean. Hey, what's up? What's up, Just Cause? What's up, Mark Haynes? What's up, Paul Mignot? All right, my friends. And thank you for smashing that like button wherever you are. Thank you very much, Victor, for reminding me to say that. Smash that like button, y'all, is what he said. So Johnny's here, One Nation Underground. Linda Drescher is here. And so, as I said, we're going to start at the top. So we have Joe Biden here, and this was him. I previously made a video about Joe Biden coming out of church over the weekend, And he kind of came out and he did this little bounce thing. Remember, he had the bike incident where he fell. His foot got caught up in the little bicycle pedal cage. And so he explained that. But we've got several different things we'll talk about with Joe today. First and foremost, he came out and he told us about the bike fall, right? This is a photograph, a still of him. He was out there on the beach. He was hanging out with his family. And in particular, he's got his daughters there, and Beau Biden's daughter was there. And we're going to see her sort of, interfacing with the media and taking selfies and all of these things. We're going to take a look at Joe Biden's poll numbers. Biden kind of gets a little bit snippy with several reporters when they ask him about a recession. We're going to talk about oil companies, and then a hilarious story with Jake Sullivan. A little slip of the mic at the mic. He tells us about something about the Russian, seizing Russian yachts. Not working out too well for the federal government. So let's start here. We've got Joe Biden explaining the bike incident, the bike saga. And you can see they're out there in Delaware. Here's Joe Biden. He's got that collar pop. The wind is blowing at his back. Secret Service agents all over the place. We've got this gentleman here in the tie-dye shirt. His daughter is petrified of Joe, so she is nuzzled right in there into the side. She sort of knows he's probably coming over to sniff her or something like that. And so the family is going to be, interfacing with the president. And that's a pretty cool thing. STFUFFS is here with a super chat. Thank you for that. Says, oh my gosh, I'm in time for a stream. I should buy a lotto ticket. Glad you're here, STFU. So here is Joe Biden now. And look at him. He's pretty excited. Let's watch him as he interfaces with this family. Now the press is over there. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Now,
a few questions and then let me walk with my family, okay? I'm feeling great.
I'm feeling great. He just fell.
What happened was, any of you guys ride bikes? Well, they have some that have this thing you put your toe in. It constrains your foot so it doesn't slide off the pedal.
Doesn't slide off.
Getting off the bike, it got stuck on the right side.
I fell in case you didn't notice. But I'm fine.
Also planning to go to Ukraine?
Uh-oh.
That depends.
Uh-oh. Now he gets a real serious question. All right, so up until about 40 seconds in, it's all, oh, you fell off the bike. Yeah, my foot fell off the pedal. It couldn't come out of the cage for your feet, so your feet don't fall off the pedal. Okay. Well, I've been there. I've done it. I've had my foot caught in that cage. You're like, oh, you're like, and you kind of, and then you get it out at the last minute, and he's 70-something years old, 79 now, I think it is. And that's a big deal. Some of us were sitting, wait a minute, hold on a minute. That when people fall and they're elderly like that, oftentimes they break their bones, right? They break something pretty significant. And that is not a good, not a good thing if you're the commander in chief. You don't want that to happen. So Joe Biden's out there. He's having this conversation, and watch the tone change. Watch the deer in the headlights just come crashing into reality as soon as they ask him a question about Ukraine. You get that pause, and he's out there with his family. He does his little whisper in thing. His poor reporter, did you know I fell? Did you know I fell? She's like, oh gosh, she's getting a little too close for me here. So, and then it switches over to Ukraine. So I just want to pause on this. We'll jump into some other clips.
That depends.
On what?
On a lot of things relating to whether or not it causes more difficulty for Ukrainians, whether it distracts from what's going on. But I've been meeting with Zelensky, and I've talked with him almost at least 3-4 times a week. And but I'll be heading, I'm going into Germany, then I'm going to Spain, then I'm going to Israel, then I'm going into Saudi Arabia for a larger meeting.
Oh, Saudi Arabia! Oh yeah!
There. And then I'll be coming home probably. Directly.
Probably.
So not going to Ukraine?
So not going to Ukraine.
Well, on this trip, not like that.
Okay, not on this trip.
Mr. President, are you considering a pause?
All right, so we get a lot more questions out of him. He explains the bike fall, and we're going to check back in, right? He's got several other things that he talks about very briefly. Now, they ask him about a recession, and he gets a little bit agitated. He sort of, he said, whoop, nobody says that we're going into a recession. And by the way, and then he says, I'm joking. And then he gets into this conversation with oil companies. And again, we get the very close look at Biden here. He's getting real close again, making us all a little bit nervous. And so we'll get to that as well. But before we do, let's do a quick detour and just take a look at these polls, because new polls came out from YouGov. And, we're not ordinarily sort of a poll channel, the polls. I think Richard Barris is somebody who covers those really well. But this story came out from Yahoo News, and I want to just share this with you. It tells us from Andrew Romano, this is from June 17th. It tells us, as inflation keeps rising and recession fears loom, polls show he's in the worst shape of his presidency. Survey 1,500 people from June 10th to June 13th, which means that has some of the January 6th stuff in there. It says more registered voters say now that they would cast the ballots for Trump than for Biden. Look at that right there. More at this time, right? With a lot of this January 6th stuff factored in, more people would vote for Trump than for Biden. And it's like, oh my goodness, that is the poll that has really been, they have not wanted to see that at all. They're okay with Biden's approval and up and down and all of that. But if Trump is now leapfrogging Joe, that's like panic buttons, like turn both keys, break glass in case of emergency, cancel everything. It's not good. Even though the House committee, key line, has spent the last week linking Trump to what it called, quote, seditious conspiracy to overturn 2020 election, laying the groundwork for a possible criminal prosecution. So in other words, even though all of this has been taking place, polls still in the toilet. People still don't have any faith in their fearless president, Joe Biden. Since Biden took office, no previous poll has shown him trailing Trump. Though Biden's most recent leads have been within the margin of error. 1 year ago, Biden led Trump by 9 percentage points. In 2020, Biden won the White House, they say, by a lot. Yet Biden's approval rating has been atrophying for much of the year. A new survey shows a full 56% of Americans now disapprove, the highest share to date. Only 39% approve. Bunch of delusional people who just really can't see what, I guess, reality. I was going to say guys like Ben Stiller. Did you see him today? He's not in the show. I don't have the clip, but he went over to Ukraine today to hang out with Zelensky. He probably thinks Biden's doing a great job. The highest share to date, only 39% approved. On average, Biden's job approval scores are now a few points worse than Trump at the same time in the presidency. Bad news, right? Not good for him. Politically, this is crippling for Biden. A full 61% of voters disapprove of the president's economic policies. And in recent days, we were talking about this. Is he going to run again? He's saying yes. They're planning a spring announcement sometime next year in 2023. In spring, he's going to run again. And they're already trying to figure out where to shuffle the money around. And he's sending campaign statements out there. And, the new press secretary is like, oh, yeah, he's running for sure. So, okay. So you can see, right, the polls are not looking good. And the thing that really stood out to me about this is we're trying to see if there is any consequence of the J6 hearings, because we've been listening to those for the last 2 weeks or so. And, the idea is that those hearings are going to be of some consequence, where we have all of these people day in, day out, 2 hours. We're on hearing 3. We've already got 3 hearings done over the last full 2 weeks. It's supposed to have some consequences. It's supposed to move the needle. And it's not. It's not salvaging anything. I mean, people are really seeing through it. And we'll see how long that lasts. Now, we also had this other clip. So in addition to the polls crumbling around Joe Biden, you may have been paying attention to the stock market. You may have been paying attention to crypto. I mean, everything is not looking good. Many economists are saying, I just heard a clip that, Goldman Sachs is now speculating that there may be, 18 more rate adjustments over the next 18 to 24 months. We're seeing inflation, continue to go up. They're talking about this sort of being a potential runaway problem. And I'm not an economist or a biologist or a geologist, but there's a lot of concern about it. And I don't need to be an expert PhD, super scientist to take a look at the grocery bill, to take a look at the prices at the gas pump, to see pretty clearly that there are pretty serious consequences that do not seem to be abating. And they don't really have a plan as far as I can tell, other than just denying that it actually exists. So here's this clip of old Joe. And let's watch him get a little bit agitated with this reporter. This reporter is there on the side of the beach and says specifically, Mr. President, basically everybody who's an economist says that we're in deep, deep doo-doo here, buddy boy. So what do you say about it, Joe? And he's not happy with this little clip. He gets a little bit testy. Let's listen. And pay attention back here, by the way, this gal in the back, we're going to learn from her. She happens to be Beau Biden's daughter. All right. So Beau Biden's daughter it's Father's Day weekend. You know, they're out there hanging out with old Grandpa Joe. And so Beau Biden's daughter is there. And we're also going to see apparently Joe Biden's daughter is there. And I think it's in this clip. Now he's out there, I think, for a total of like 8 minutes. Right. And so I sort of clipped out a couple tidbits of Joe Biden on the beach. But I think the full clip from C-SPAN's like a full 8 minutes. And so he's really not out there for that long. But you're going to see, you know, the family is kind of impatient. You know, they're walking down the beach. Dad stops to talk to somebody. I mean, you know how that is. You know, you're with your parents and you're walking somewhere and they like meet their friends. And you're like, oh, gosh, it's the Joneses. Great. They haven't seen them in a year. So how long is this little powwow going to be? You know, can we go already? We've got to get back to the beach house. All right. You're going to see this gal. She wants to start posting on Instagram a little bit more, as we're going to see. There's nothing wrong with posting on Instagram. I post like a lunatic. I drive all over the place now, or walk all over the place now with my selfie stick, filming myself. It's a lot of fun. People look at you weird, but I don't care, right? And you're going to see she's doing the same thing, so good for her. But that being said, here's Joe Biden now. What we really want to glean out of this conversation is the nuggets from our president, from our fearless leader, the man who is governing us so competently. Here is Joe Biden now talking about a recession.
Mr. President, are you confident that Ukraine is going to become a member of the European Union? Are you pushing for that?
I think that's very likely to happen. I know.
Okay, they're yelling at him. All right, sorry, I interrupted that. He says, that's my press secretary daughter. Okay, so daughter here, and I forget her name. She comes up. We've talked about her. Her name is at the tip of my tongue. I can't remember what it is. Let me know if you know what it is in the chat. But that's his daughter. Okay, so he's now rambling off on the press for another little bit. We've got Beau's daughter. She's like, you know, arms crossed, like this is so boring here. So let's listen to him again. Daughter comes to interrupt him, and he says, "That's my press secretary daughter telling me to shut up." Listen.
Mr. President, are you confident that Ukraine is going to become a member of the European Union? Are you pushing for that?
I think that's very likely to happen. I know. That's my press secretary daughter. I promise.
Recession's even more likely than ever.
Not the majority of them aren't saying that. Come on, don't make things
Oh,
up, okay?
see here, and that's the recession part. Here's that question one more time.
More likely than ever.
Not the majority of them. I promise.
Recession's even more likely than ever.
Not the majority of them aren't saying that. Come on, don't make things up, okay? Now you sound like a Republican politician. I'm joking. That was a joke. But all kidding aside, no, I don't think it is. I was talking to Larry Summers this morning.
Larry Summers.
There's nothing inevitable about a recession. I think we're going to be able to do. I think we're going to be able to get a change in Medicare and a reduction in the cost of insulin.
Okay, so let's just pause right here. Okay, he got asked a question about a recession, and he says, "Nope, a recession is not automatic. You don't, you sound like a Republican politician right now. It's not automatic. It's not a foregone conclusion. That's not where we're going. Hold your horses." And so the reporter wants, presumably an answer about the recession, right? They want a response on, all right, if it's not presumed, if it's not a foregone conclusion, Mr. President, can you explain to us how you're going to prevent it from happening? Because all the economists say it's coming. And he says, no, they don't. I just got off the phone with Larry Summers. And by the way, then what's the answer? Well, he's going to spiral off into insulin. Let's listen, right? And I'm not saying that insulin's not a problem and the people that need it. And we certainly don't want them to go broke buying medicine, right? But that's really sort of not, I don't think, a national or global economic issue. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think it is. But here's the president who is now going to answer the economic recession question with an insulin question.
I think we're going to be able to do. I think we're going to be able to get a change in Medicare and a reduction in the cost of insulin. Insulin, if you know anybody who has type 2 diabetes or has a child,
here it goes.
They need shots during the week. It can cost them up to $1,000 a week. It may not cost more than $35.
Okay, so we get no real answer. Now, he continues on that path. If you watch this full interview, and I did, I'll spare you. He just continues to sort of prattle off stuff about insulin and mothers and all of it, which, okay, like I can understand that. But again, I don't think that is a national, global economic issue that merits our full attention. Now, the big clip that I wanted to jump on before we sort of jump off of Biden and jump into the other stories today is this clip about the oil companies, because Biden here is going to specifically be talking about how that question about the recession and the insulin sort of spirals into oil companies now. And this is a much longer clip. It's about 2 minutes and 35 seconds, but I do want to go through the whole thing because, first of all, Joe Biden, he does several interesting things here. He does his whisper thing. He blames the oil companies for making profits. He also blames the oil companies for not utilizing their leasing, right? Their land leases. And there's a whole, slew of debates about whether these are legitimate gripes or criticisms or not, right? Is there anything that is on these leases? Do they have permits to use the leases, right? And we've covered this here on the show. This is not a huge economic channel, but certainly the things that the politicians do have catastrophic impacts on all of us. And, now it seems like the entire governmental structure is turned into like this sort of super regulatory state in all of our lives. So even if it is something that doesn't feel like it's regulatory or overly punitive, it sort of turns out to be in practice. So Joe Biden's talking about now oil companies, and he gives us a whole litany of their problems, and let's go through them. But I want to sort of watch two things happening here. Okay, we're watching Joe Biden and his answers. Like, that's layer number one. If this is a Google map, we're going to turn a couple layers on, right? You're going to turn the traffic layer on, and we're going to turn the terrain layer on and the labels on so that we can see everything that's happening. Here with Joe Biden, we're sort of listening for his answers, right? What is he talking about these oil companies? What is he talking about these profits and unsold leases and all of that? But we're also watching the body language of the people behind him, of his family. We're going to watch his daughter come up multiple times like, hey, Dad, hello. Please stop talking. Please stop talking. You're going to see several people whispering in the background. You're going to see the daughter of Beau Biden turn around, take some selfies, and then she comes up and she sort of, nuzzles him out of the way. And they're all just, pulling him back to walk. Now, the president, watch, we'll spend some time on this because it's just it's a little bit painful, but they pull him away and then he goes back and then they pull him away again. Let's watch. All right. So here it's about 2 minutes. We'll go through this with a little bit of time. Here is Joe.
And we also, I'm working with our team is put together at the same time.
Okay, so there she is. She's coming up now.
Everything allows you something good happen.
Like really uncomfortable, right? Watching him, watching.
Fundamental turn.
Eye contact.
Electric vehicles, and not just electric vehicles.
Okay, now she's over here.
And that's something we should be. My team is going to be sitting down with the CEOs of the major oil companies this week.
Okay, Secret Service, they're all bumbling around.
An explanation how they justify making $35 billion in the first quarter.
All right, so now Joe Biden is ripping. Okay, so as I said, we're watching sort of two different layers here. We're watching the people in the background. Joe Biden just got done saying that they made $35 billion in the first quarter and they should be ashamed of themselves, right? He's talking about oil companies sort of prattling off a bunch of stuff. And we've got, I think this guy might be, with the press office. He's got several phones. This guy over here also has several phones. The Biden granddaughter is who this gal is. She's on her phone now. And you saw the Biden daughter, right, a little bit uncomfortable, and they're all sort of watching Joe. Now let's continue on. We're about 30 seconds in.
Are you planning to sit down with oil and gas CEOs, Mr. President? Why is that so?
Because my team's going to do that.
Okay, but you did that with retailers and logistics companies and consumer companies.
Because I had it already done.
How can they cut more if they're already at capacity?
Well, they can.
Okay, so somebody said all right in the background.
What they've done is they cut back on the refining capacity. All this stuff you hear about and you guys have to report. So Biden limited the amount of oil.
Okay, so here comes.
9,000 leases.
Here comes the whisper.
And they should either use it or lose it. That's number one.
So at least he's talking to the press. Like, this isn't bad. Like at least he's talking to him.
I'm refining. And they say because they don't want to get caught.
Now she just looks so uncomfortable to me.
Move to alternative energy, renewable energy, and they don't want to get stuck. Well,
okay, now granddaughter comes up.
And I want an explanation from them as to why they aren't refining more oil. And anyway.
Okay, so he says we're done.
For your anniversary, sir.
Secret.
Yeah.
Any top line goals for 2020?
Yes, one of the things that you may recall that I initiated was the
Okay, they cut him
international
off.
flat
We're
tax.
done.
No more.
No more.
And we got 140 some nations to sign on to it. I'm coming.
Okay, so now it says okay, so hold on.
This is my son Bo's oldest daughter, and she's trying to tell me, Dad, Grandpa, Pop, get going. You promised me you'd walk.
What did you guys do for Father's Day?
So it's not that bad, I guess. I mean,
It was really fun, and we did puzzles.
they did puzzles at the White House at
All right. Okay, Dad, we're ready.
Thank you, Mr. President.
So I watched it again a second time. You know, that's not as bad as I thought the first time I watched it. It sort of felt like they were dragging him out of there. They let him talk actually a little bit longer than I thought. That they did pull him out, right? I mean, she felt look, you have to tell me what you think about it. The daughter in the green felt very uncomfortable to me. That entire time I was watching her, she's just like, "Oh gosh, like we got to stop this. We got to stop this. We got to stop this." But he did actually talk a little bit. Like he actually did give some substantive responses, which was a little bit more than I was expecting. So, all right, so that's Joe Biden. Now, he's talking about now on a different layer, right? We can talk about sort of the body language of everybody and the interaction and how that all felt. But on top of that, we also have to talk about the actual policies that he laid out there. The idea being that the oil companies are not using the land that they are apparently have. The idea that they're making too much profits, right? That they were too profitable over the last quarter, too much money. And those are going to be, I guess, the things that he focuses on when his team meets with these oil executives. Now, if you listen to the oil executives, several of them have come out. Exxon released a public statement. Many of them are actually responding to the White House and saying, none of this is our fault, right? Joe Biden, when you came in on day one of the first things that you did when you took office was to stop the progress of the Keystone XL pipeline, right? We saw during the campaign, in the debates leading up to the election, you saying how we're going to go through this very strong, it has to be a transitional process so that we can now get on to clean energy. I mean, it's been part of the whole shtick for the last several years. So now Joe Biden's going to fly over, to the Middle East and beg for more oil. And it's just amazing to me that this is sort of the same thing that we go through round and around and around and around and around again. So that's Joe Biden. Now, where this all kind of comes crashing together, a big part of the White House, right, their talking points very recently, and you may have been paying attention to this, has been that all of this is a result of the Putin price hike, right? The idea being that Russia invading Ukraine has been so consequential to the world supply chains, to the world economics, that now all of the increased prices that you see at the pump, all the increased prices that you see at the grocery store are as a consequence, not of the government printing money, not a consequence of bad, financial policy or governmental mismanagement. It's Putin, right? Because the Democrats don't want to take the blame for this. Joe Biden came into office. They printed an ungodly amount of additional money in addition to the ungodly amount of money that was already printed during COVID. And so now they need a scapegoat. They need to pin the tail on the donkey somewhere, and that's going to be old Pooty Poo. And so that's what they're doing. Now, this has been something that is really coming back to bite them in the rear end. We know that the Russian ruble, I think I saw a headline today, that the ruble was up, I think, the highest that it's ever been, right? Very, very high, very significant for the Russians. They're happy. They're doing cartwheels. And we see that Ben Stiller goes over to Ukraine. He's hanging out with Zelensky. We know that the Russians are the subject of a lot of different sanctions and penalties and property seizures. And, this is something that I've had an issue with. The idea being that you can have governments taking private property from other people just because, it's a scary thought. I don't care if you are Russian. I don't care if you are whatever entity you are, right? Private property rights are things that, I thought the communists didn't care about, but here are the United States and many of our international bodies saying, oh, no, it's our property now. Why? I don't know. So, okay. So here, this is all starting to backfire on them a little bit. Let's bring our attention over to this guy. Remember Jake Sullivan? Oh, he's the national security advisor. He's from Oxford. I think he went to Oxford. Sometimes I get these confused. Sometimes I think he went to Harvard. because I really can't tell, but I'm pretty sure it's Oxford if I dig in properly. So here is the Russian yacht story. This came over from Business Insider, and if you link over here, this article was pretty interesting. Jake Sullivan from Harvard got put on an open mic, and part of the open mic came out and revealed a little something about the truth about what's happening to these yachts, right? The big story about all these yachts being seized is sort of like these trophies, right? The government bureaucrats come out and they get out and they say, look what we have gotten. We went out and we got this Russian oligarch's big super yacht. It's now American property, and they're very excited and happy to have it. Problem is, the American taxpayer is paying for that, not only the process of seizing it, but the process of maintaining it. That means that all of the service staff and all of the bells and whistles that go into maintaining a yacht, guess who's paying for that? We are. Yeah, all the American people are. So in addition to your inflated dollars, in addition to your inflated grocery prices because of supply chain problems and because of food shortages that are inevitably going to be coming, we also are paying for Russian yachts. It's not a joke. Here, this story was written by Christopher Woody. Says, quote, the craziest thing about seizing Russian super yachts is the U.S. has to pay for them. That comes out from Jake Sullivan on a hot mic. The world has been cracking down on these Russian assets so that they don't keep their super yachts, but those seizures have cost the U.S. a lot of money for upkeep. Jake Sullivan, who is the national security advisor to President Biden, mentioned the ongoing Operation Klepto Capture, a Justice Department-led effort to target Russian, quote, elites, proxies, and oligarchs. They've got sanctions and criminal asset seizures, but Sullivan appeared to reference the recent seizure of Amadea. This is a 348-foot yacht owned by sanctioned Russian oligarch Suleiman Kerimov. The U.S. moved to seize the yacht early May, and it sailed it to the U.S. in early June. Fiji, the Supreme Court said, yeah, you can take the yacht. Now, there's a conversation taking place, and this guy, Richard Fontaine, he's the chief executive officer of CNS. And he tells Sullivan, he says, hey, Jake, he says, gosh, I wasn't aware how many super yachts there were in the world. I mean, this is crazy. He says, the size of these things, the value of these things is unbelievable. And they're just hanging out, just chit-chat. And Sullivan says, gosh, I know, it's so ridiculous. But you know what the craziest thing is here? It's Rick. He says, Rick, you know what the craziest thing here is, Rick? When we seize one, we have to pay for the upkeep. Can you believe this? He says the federal government pays for upkeep because under the kind of forfeiture rubric, so like some people are basically being paid to maintain Russian super yachts on behalf of the United States government. That's Jake Sullivan. These freaking geniuses, man. They're so smart. We're going to take their yachts. Oh, good. What's it going to cost us to maintain 1,000 Russian super yachts? Sullivan says, I know, it's so ridiculous. You know what's even crazier? When we seize one, we have to pay for the upkeep. The federal government pays for upkeep because under the kind of forfeiture rubric we have. So some of the people are basically being paid to maintain Russian super yachts on behalf of the U.S. government. Outstanding. Well done. Genius. Fontaine interviewed Sullivan during an event on Thursday morning. The audio of their exchange was broadcast on a live stream, which was taken offline shortly after the comments were publicized. They took it down because they don't want you to know that they are horrible leaders. A spokesman for the think tank called the takedown an honest mistake, and they later reposted it. Yeah, right. That hot mic got caught, busted. Sullivan's mention of a forfeiture rubric was likely a reference to the U.S. government's responsibility for maintaining property it seizes in good condition. U.S. Marshals, they take control of the seized property. Seized assets are stored to make that work easier. If there's something that has to be done to make sure the property doesn't flood, the water's turned off, then the marshals have responsibility for it. And look, right? You would want to take care of it, right? What good is a useless yacht that's not maintained, that's at the bottom of the Pacific, right? It's not any good. So you want to maintain them to make sure that it continues to be valuable. Otherwise, it's garbage, right? So, all right, that's great. The U.S. Marshal Service under this are fear. I wonder if they learned that at Oxford. Did they not have that in the lesson about international forfeiture at Oxford? He's the national security advisor. I mean, don't they take classes on this? International diplomacy in a time of war. What do they learn at Oxford? How do you get this position? I don't know. He must have skipped the class on yacht maintenance in lead-ups to world wars when you're going through asset forfeiture. All right, well, I don't know. All right, so that's the section on Biden. Now, of course, not looking good for the Biden administration. And unfortunately, that means things are not looking good for America. Now, somebody who is on his way out of Congress, which is a good thing for America, is Adam Kinzinger. And we've got several different updates from him. Over the weekend, something very interesting happened with old Kinzinger. You know, those domestic homegrown violent extremists that Joe Biden and NSA Jake Sullivan talk about a lot. Apparently, they're coming to fruition. FBI missed this one, but Adam Kinzinger got a letter through the mail this weekend, and he posted it on Twitter, apparently a death threat. Unbelievable. Probably a terrorist insurrectionist. Let's see what this looks like. So he posted this on Twitter, and he said this over the weekend. He said, here is the letter. And it's just not a regular old death threat. This death threat is addressed to his wife. Addressed to my wife, it says, sent to my home, threatening the life of my family. The darkness is spreading, courtesy of cowardly leaders, of fearful of truth. Is that what you want, GOP? Is this what you want, pastors? From Adam Kinzinger. Now let's take a look at this letter and see how violent and dangerous this is, because my goodness, we can't endorse any of this, of course. Now here is what the letter says, and Adam Kinzinger posted that directly on Twitter. It says, Sophia, here it is. You are one stupid, and that word is blurred out. Adam Kinzinger did us a favor and blurred that out because it's a bad word. Now, I think I can see it. I think it's a 4-letter word. I think it ends with a T. I think it starts with a C. And I think you can fill in the gaps. It's like a game of Wordle. I think that's the word. It says, Sophia, you are one stupid. And runt. Yeah, chat's got it. Runt, bunt, cart, maybe, cat. Cat's close. I'm not sure. There's a lot. Runt, yeah, runt probably could. SOB. Punt is a good one. Cart, soul, chit with CHIT. Cart, cat. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's, I don't know what it is. Yeah, feline. Crunt, punt. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard. Maybe you can figure it out. I can't figure it out. But anyways, it says, Dear Sophia. It doesn't say dear. It just says Sophia, which is a very, rude way to start a letter. Sophia, you are one stupid. Next sentence. It says, that pimp you married, talking about Adam, that pimp you married not only broke his oath, he sold his soul. Yours and Christians too! Exclamation point. Adam's activity, meaning this is the congressman he's talking about, your husband, Adam's activity have hurt not only this country, but countless patriotic and God-fearing families. Therefore, although it might take time, he will be eliminated. Can you believe this? Saying Adam Kinzinger, I didn't know. Now that word is, executed, really. Horrible. It says, but don't worry. You and Christian will be joining Adam in hell too. Exclamation point. Wow, that's not nice at all. Well, that's a rude letter. He says, this author says, we find it blasphemous that you name the son of the devil Christian. Exclamation point. Well, that sounds, that sounds pretty violent and pretty horrible. Pretty serious business here. Okay, well, I hope that their families sleep safely and soundly tonight. it's not good to get death threats. Like, you shouldn't be sending death threats to people. Like, I've gotten some pretty gruesome letters in my day. Some pretty good ones. And there's still some of them floating around out there. And you may see them. You'll probably see them pop up from time to time. That's okay, right? I get some letters. I get burning in fiery hell and all of that stuff. Like, okay, we'll see. We'll see. Maybe. I don't know. But if you're going, like, if you're going to be standing out and speaking out, like, people are going to respond to you. And some people are going to respond in ways that are a little bit aggressive. He's a congressman. This is par for the course. All right. So now he says his wife is being assaulted and threatened and there's going to be an insurrection in his house. But, and look, I don't want to make too much light of this. Like I said, I don't want people to, to send death threats, and I don't want to make too much light of it. Here over on Rumble, member of the public says, yeah, when I send death threats, I definitely write them in handwriting, which is a good point. It's a good point. Yeah. Hopefully there's a return address on that, so that we can figure out where that came from, because it certainly looks, pretty serious. Anyways, here is what this user, her name is Jessica, came up with. Jessica came out and says, this is very curious. Posted this yesterday at 4:19 p.m. Says, thoughts on the letter that Adam Kinzinger was sent to his wife. The letter on the right is Adam's handwriting. You think this is fake, or you think this is real? Now, let's take just a gander at this old comparison, right? I'm not a handwriting expert. There are handwriting experts out there, and we have used them in legal cases at our law firm, the R&R Law Group, which I'll tell you more about later. But we offer free case evaluations for people in the state of Arizona charged with crimes. And we've used handwriting experts before. They're not inexpensive, so we're not going to go through it on this case. But hopefully there's one out there. Maybe like the body language experts on YouTube. Maybe is there a handwriting expert on YouTube who will dig into this case? But let's see here. Jessica is saying, this could be pretty close. So this could be fake. And here's what we've got. If you zoom in, she pulled this letter from one of Kinzinger's. Looks like this was a House of Representatives note that he gave to somebody, right? He signed this, God bless you, signed Adam Kinzinger. It says, Dear Nada Zahardeh, thank you for contacting me. Always a pleasure to hear from a fellow pilot and a veteran of Iraq like you. Military service and, blah, blah, blah. Now, you look at that handwriting, you see that all of this sort of curves up and to the right? It's got like a italics almost, right? Italics to the right. You take a look at the H's, you take a look at the I's, you take a look at the S's. Really, thes, right? Thes are pretty serious there. And so what we want to do is just do the old compare and contrast, really. I mean, just throw them both up on the screen and just see how they kind of look, towards one another. And here, see if we can zoom that in just a little bit. Yeah, so, the P's, I'll say the P's, the lowercase P's, let's see if we can find an A. Yeah. Say, like, for example, like this please here and patriot. Yeah, I don't know. The P's there, the U, the Y. The Y's have a little bit of a curve. It may not be the same. I don't know. But it does have, they both have the upward and left slant. That's for sure. So, interesting idea. Regardless, hopefully that letter, whoever drafted it, hopefully they don't do any of those things. Obviously that's not well. And, if that happens to be Adam who wrote it himself, he could also use some help, but maybe they put their return address on there, and maybe they included a lock of their hair so that they can just DNA test it and, of course, connect the dots. But we don't know too much. Former LEO's over on Locals, and former LEO says, yeah, Rob, look at the F's. It's a match. It's definitely old Adam who's just writing notes to himself. Yeah, and so that was over from the chat on Locals. Former LEO's in the house. He's former LEO, so he kind of knows what's up. Ronnie Cole's here. Plebs says FBI is going to sort all this out. Philip Smith says it probably glows in the dark, which is a good one. And so that's Kinzinger. Now, Kinzinger was also out over the weekend talking about this. Now, his death threat is something to be taken very seriously, and he's going to go communicate to George Stephanopoulos over at wherever George, does his show. about these dangers and about how traumatic all of this stuff really is. We've got two clips from Crying Adam Kinzinger here. And the first one is where he's talking about the GOP failing, right? And he's not going to be a part of the GOP anymore. He's not going to be a part of Congress anymore because his jurisdiction has been evaporated, right? He no longer has a seat because his seat has been taken away, been redistricted out. So here is Kinzinger now. He's going to tell us a little bit more about how the GOP has failed. And, you know, this clip is getting a lot of attention on the interwebs and on Twitter over the weekend because of this. He's saying, you know, the GOP has failed us. The GOP has failed the country. And we'll listen to this. The next clip is going to be from him talking about the indictment. Okay. And we are still trying to figure out what this hoax committee is attempting to accomplish. Are they going to refer this for criminal prosecution? Yes or no? What's the end game here? Here is Kinzinger over the weekend.
You're in a small minority among Republicans, only one of two Republicans on the committee. Our new poll also shows a huge partisan divide.
Oh, weird.
91% of Democrats believe that President Trump should be prosecuted. Only 19% of Republicans. 91% of Democrats believe the president bears ultimate responsibility
91%.
for what happened. Only 21% of Republicans. How do you explain that gap? How do you explain the views of a majority of Republicans?
Big gap, right? Republicans all on one side, Democrats all on the other side. They've been trying to fake this whole thing like it's a bipartisan inquiry. You know, J6 was like both sides coming together. Obviously not the case, right? Everybody has a different interpretation of what happened there, and the polls show it. So he's asking, and remember, Kinzinger, even though he acts like a Democrat, is technically a Republican, so to speak. I mean, that's what he was running as for quite some time before he joined the impeachment party against Donald Trump, and now he's going to be out on his booty. And now let's listen to what his answer is. What happened here? Why is there such a partisan divide? What has gone wrong?
Well, look, I would guess that before Nixon, really resigned, you probably see something fairly similar. Now, this is obviously, we're in a way worse position, I think, today.
What?
And I think this blows actually Watergate, out of the water. But how do I explain it?
Was that
It's
intentional?
leadership, lack of leadership in the Republican Party. So if you have
Lack
people
of
that
leadership.
don't trust what they hear on the media, or they don't trust what they hear from certain leaders, and everybody has people they trust in where they get their information. But that whole segment of leaders that Republican voters trust, that includes Kevin McCarthy. Of course, that includes Donald Trump and others. If you're going to stand in front of those people and lie to them and tell them Donald Trump's right, the election was stolen, because that has you give me $20 when I send you the next email,
What?
or it's way easier for my primary election.
Okay. Oh, I didn't mean to click that. So he gets out there and he's telling us that they're basically using this for fundraising. He's saying that Kevin McCarthy and Donald Trump are fundraising on the back of the J6 insurrection saga that almost wrecked America. And that the Democrats are not doing that. Like, they're not using this. I mean, this whole charade is a big pep rally for the Democrats. It's a high school rally. That's what this has all been about. They're just parading people hour after hour after painful hour to try to recreate a narrative. It's all politics. But he's saying that Donald Trump is somehow behind the political fundraising? I don't see it. But let's wrap up with him and then we'll jump into the next clip.
$20 when I send you the next email, or it's way easier for my primary election, we can have no doubt that 80% of the country is going to believe what their leaders are saying. This is where, if you're not willing to tell people the truth in
I don't know
America,
what he's talking
you
about.
shouldn't run for Congress. Like, go do something else. But this should be a position.
By the way, he's not running for Congress, right? He's actually not running for Congress. So like does that mean he's dishonest? If he was honest, right, wouldn't he be rerunning for Congress by his own rule? He just said, if you're not honest, don't run for Congress. And he's not running for Congress. So does that mean that he's not honest? He's not really that articulate here. I don't know what he's trying to get at.
Where you can tell the hard truth. And unfortunately, my party has utterly failed the American people
That's
at
the-
truth.
that's the
It makes me
sentence.
sad, but it's a fact.
What? I don't know what he's talking about. So he's talking about no leadership, I guess, is the point. Which is, I don't know, I guess arguably true. Who is the leader of the Republican Party right now? Mitch McConnell? Kevin McCarthy? No. So I guess there is some truth to that. Who's the leader of the Democratic Party? I don't know either. the country is basically rudderless at this point. Okay, so now the big clip that we really wanted to get to is this one. Whether or not there's going to be a Trump indictment, and then we're going to spend some time on the massive hypocrisy that Kinzinger has, because now he's talking about election problems coming up, even though he's running. Okay, we'll just save that for the next section. Here is the clip on the indictment, all right? Endgame for the January 6th Select Committee has always been what? Well, we don't know. We know that ideally it's Donald Trump gets drawn and quartered and never runs for office ever again and is eliminated, as well as anybody who ever voted for him, including all Republicans. And if you ever even saw a red MAGA hat, you're in big trouble, right? That's kind of where they want this all to go so that they can ensconce themselves in power indefinitely. And many people don't like the idea of that, so they are responding. But the question, of course, has always been, what is the end result? And specifically, is this going to lead to an indictment? Is Donald Trump going to be facing criminal charges? I mean, I know 39% of Americans, all the Democrats who still support Joe Biden, would love to see it. And this committee has been working really hard to sort of get there. But are we going to get there? That's what people want to know. We're halfway through the hearings. The first three were brutally boring. They've got three more left. Nobody's watching them. Everybody's tuning out. Are you going to indict him? Yes or no? Do you have the goods? Yes or no? And so George Stephanopoulos is again going to ask him, and here's what he says.
It's up to the Department of Justice in the end, but have you reached the conclusion that President Trump should be prosecuted?
I certainly think the president is guilty of knowing what he did, seditious conspiracy.
Do you hear that? Seditious conspiracy, okay? So he says specifically there's a charge. Now, Donald Trump has not been indicted for seditious conspiracy. In fact, only about 17 people have, of the thousands of MAGA insurrectionists. Okay, very limited select few of people have been indicted for seditious conspiracy. And by the way, of those groups, one of which is the Oath Keepers, the other is the Proud Boys. Guess who is the leader of the Proud Boys? Enrique Tarrio, a confirmed, according to Reuters, FBI former informant. So that's weird. Why was the leader of the Proud Boy indicted for seditious conspiracy if he's a known FBI informant? Shouldn't the FBI have been informed about the conspiracy? Shouldn't they have known about this person and kept tabs on him? In other words, why was seditious conspiracy allowed to percolate if the FBI had a known informant inside the groups? That's point one. Point number two is the Oath Keepers, okay? Oath Keepers, leader of that organization, Stuart Rhodes, very close friends, in my opinion, right? They don't say this, but we've got photographs and evidence, videos of them marching together here in Arizona as part of the Arizona chapter of the Oath Keepers. Ray Epps and Stuart Rhodes. Stuart Rhodes and the Oath Keepers, along with Thomas Caldwell, and many of them have been indicted for seditious conspiracy. Again, federal, closely connected informants are the only people out of this whole saga that have seditious conspiracy charges. Both groups that they say are involved are tainted with feds. So they want now seditious conspiracy charges against Donald Trump. But the Justice Department hasn't filed those. Why not? Let's back this up a little bit.
Trump should be prosecuted?
I certainly think the president is guilty of knowing what he did, seditious conspiracy,
That's
being
a crime.
involved in these, kind of different segments of pressuring DOJ, vice president, et cetera. Obviously, we're not a criminal charges committee, so I want to be careful in specifically using that language. But I think what we're presenting before the American people certainly would rise to a level of criminal involvement by a president and definitely failure of the oath. The oath has to matter here. Your personal demand to stand for the Constitution has to matter. And if you have people that don't regard that at all, there is no law in the world that we can pass that's going to make a bit of difference.
You're in a
What is he talking about? Okay, so he talks about this poor guy. So he breaks it down into several different portions. The second half, he's talking about your constitutional oath, right? Swearing a constitutional oath as the president. Same argument we've been following at j6mindmap.com, separate mind map. But that one, remember we talked about the standard of care argument? Here, Kinzinger is saying that my ability to lead, the way that I would interpret the presidential oath, how I would comport myself and govern America as president, is different from Donald Trump. So that they're saying that Trump fell below Adam Kinzinger's standard of care. And that's just a political question. Okay. Obviously, Adam Kinzinger is not Donald Trump. We didn't vote for Adam Kinzinger to be president. Why? Because he's got a terrible personality, no foresight, and seems like he would be a terrible leader, and evidently has proven himself to be so. So the point is, nobody cares about what his interpretation of the oath of office is, right? There's a reason people voted for Trump. It's because he didn't do things the way that other politicians did. That's the whole point. That's number one. So it's a subjective sort of analysis. He's taking his interpretation, his standard of care, he's slapping it on Donald Trump, and he's saying, I don't think this fits, therefore Trump is bad. That's not how it works. Right? You can have, and I see this in the law all the time, right? One lawyer says another lawyer did something bad. Well, that's not really true, right? That's just a different strategy. You may think that you wouldn't have done it that way, but doesn't mean it's invalid. Okay, so think outside the box a little bit. Stop putting yourself into your own boxes because you've put up the criteria that you think are limiting your ability to get stuff done, right? You have your own walls of your limiting beliefs. And so Kinzinger here says he would have done something differently than Trump, therefore Trump is bad. Well, it doesn't work that way. So that's point number one. Point number two, of course, is this criminal allegation component. He said specifically that there was seditious conspiracy evidence against Donald Trump. Well, if you have it there, buddy, why don't you turn it over to the DOJ? We just learned as of last week, they're just now going to start communicating transcripts over to the DOJ. Why are they delaying on this? Why might the January 6th Select Committee not want the Department of Justice to have these documents? Well, easy. If it's exculpatory, if it's something that might tend to prove somebody's innocence rather than their guilt, it has to be disclosed to the J6 criminal defendants. It's got to be part of now due process. And now it's a Brady violation. If they have this stuff and it is exculpatory and they don't disclose it, cases will be dismissed. So what has the J6 committee been doing in the interest of justice, in the interest of getting to the bottom of all of this? Hiding evidence, not disclosing it to the actual executive body that's supposed to investigate these things and has an entire structure built for it. It's called the executive branch. It's called the Department of Justice. That's the appropriate body to investigate these things. Not Adam Kinzinger to sit around on George Stephanopoulos' show and act as a little public speaking grand juror. They're supposed to be doing this for legislative purposes, not for executive function purposes, not for essentially referring criminal charges to the DOJ. It's ridiculous. It's a total joke. And this guy doesn't even know what he's talking about. So he's literally trying to make it sort of two different layers. One, talking about criminal charges with which they haven't evidently been able to prove, even though they're hiding evidence. And number two, Trump fell beneath Adam Kinzinger's standard of care, beneath what he thinks is appropriate conduct, even though nobody asked for Adam Kinzinger's opinion, and he's not going to be in Congress anymore either. All right, so here we have the last segment that I wanted to talk about on this guy. Another story came out, and I think this one was over from The Hill. Yeah, so Kinzinger is talking about this. He came out over the weekend again, and he says that 2024 is going to be a mess. And you're thinking, how is this possible? How could any future elections be problematic? I mean, this is ridiculous, okay? We just heard that the 2020 election, which was highly contentious, of course, was the most safe and secure, most perfect election that's ever happened. And there's no widespread evidence of voter fraud, and everything was above board. So how can things get so bad and turned upside down so quickly? We got a report from CISA that we've covered at length here. I mean, I'm really beating this one into the ground about them saying that there are actual problems with Dominion software. And all of this was highly researched by a very reputable individual, goes by the name of J. Alex Halderman out of the University of Michigan. And he said, big problems. And it was believed by CISA. The same CISA that 2 years previously said no problems at all, have nothing to even look at. That was Chris Krebs from CISA. Remember him? Now there are problems. And now Adam Kinzinger is even out there saying, oh my gosh, it's going to be a mess. Why, Adam? I thought that we had all of these systems buttressed up. I mean, you're saying that everybody else out there who is on the media talking about anything from 2020 is a liar and a dishonest politician who should never run for Congress. So how is that the case if a lot of what they're talking about is connected to reality? For example, they're making very similar arguments to you here, Adam. Representative Adam Kinzinger here said on Sunday that the 2024 elections are going to be, quote, a mess. When asked how worried he was about the next time the U.S. votes for president. When he was speaking with George Stephanopoulos, they said, how worried are you about 2024? He said, I'm very worried. One of the things we're focusing on are those state level elections as well. The people that will determine whether they certify the election or not. You know, what kind of equipment is being used is what he says. Can you believe this? He says this. The people that will determine whether they certify an election, you know, what kind of equipment is being used. We have problems with equipment? I thought we didn't. It says we focus so much on what goes on in D.C. and Congress and the Senate, but when you have these election judges that are going to people that don't believe in democracy, authoritarians, he says 2024 is going to be a mess. Kinzinger is not running for re-election. He says, wake up, America. Wake up, Republicans, because this is not going to be good for you if you think it is. These remarks became public as he's talking about his hearing and his death threats of his 5-month-old child. He said, there are people that there's violence in the future. I'm going to tell you. And until we get a grip on telling people the truth, we can't expect any differently. So we have an actual member of Congress who's now prognosticating that there's going to be violence forthcoming down the road. Also saying that elections are going to be highly problematic, very messy, saying we don't know what kind of equipment is being used. Which just feels wild because I thought that everything was perfect. In fact, you would get banned if you disagreed with that previously. And you still will get banned, as the January 6th Select Committee has learned. So Adam Kinzinger was really out hitting the airwaves pretty heavily. Now, I wanted to pay close attention to this response. You remember this guy? Remember Marc Elias? Yeah, we talked a lot about him during the Sussman trial. He is running Democracy Docket now. And I was screaming about this, my friends. For those of you who've been around for a while now, before the 2020 election, I was very concerned about Marc Elias. I was very concerned about the Democratic litigators out there filing lawsuits all over the place in all different jurisdictions across this country. In my perspective, it was to gain an upper hand in election lawsuits, in election litigation, in election ground game rules. How do we collect ballots? Do we need signatures? When are the collection dates? So on and so forth. Okay, we pushed all of those back and made adjustments on that. Who were the people responsible for those things? The lawyers. And Marc is still here. And so is Michael Sussman. They didn't get in any trouble from their Russian collusion hoax. Mark Sussman posted this in response after Kinzinger said that the elections are going to be a mess. He says, quote, he literally voted against reforms that would prevent this mess. Right? And so I'm just going to keep flagging Marc for everybody here. Okay, there's no real point to this, just to tell you, this guy's out there and he is saying that they are fighting for reforms and they're going to be the people who get the new election rules in place. Okay, and you don't need to make adjustments in the game, okay, in order to gain an advantage. If you just change the rules before the game starts, you see where I'm going with that? If you can gain an upper advantage before the game starts, then you have an easier time in the game. And that's what's happening here. There is attempts at the base level to change the election rules, and it works, right? And they're going to do it again. And if the Republicans don't get their litigation teams in order, they're going to get blown out again. Now, probably not this year, but we may see. I mean, holy moly, who knows? Now, speaking of Republicans who are, not that useful to America, let's take a look now, before we wrap it up for the day, at Dan Crenshaw. Because Dan Crenshaw got into it with a friend. Well, not a friend. I mean, I don't know the guy, but I think he's a friend of freedom, and his name is Alex Stein, number 99. We're going to take a look at him in a minute. I want to let's see what came. Some super chats came in, so we'll get to those right after this segment. Shout out to Rebel from the Waist Down. Marc Pate is here. Curtis Bartle and others. Thank you for the support, everybody, for the super chats coming in. We'll make sure we get to those. And I saw one come in early over on Locals on Rumble from Tatone. Says, "Here's to a great creator on a great platform." Well, thank you, Tatone. I appreciate you. That was on Rumble. Very nice. Oh, very nice of him. Okay, and so let's go back into Dan Crenshaw now before we wrap it up. We still have a little bit to get to. Dan Crenshaw, this Republican, you know him. Now, there's a pejorative name that people are using for this gentleman. It goes by the name, and I think Tucker was the person who created this, Eye Patch McCain in the House. That's, you know, the eye patch, I think, comes from an actual war wound, right? I mean, he's actually like an IED blew up or something. So, you know, it kind of feels like, oh, that's kind of rough. But I'm not a big fan of Dan Crenshaw for many reasons. So we'll have to see how that one continues to fit. Let's see what we've got. Dan Crenshaw is next on the topic. So here is what we've got. Now, look at this. We've got a lot of meat and potatoes to get to. So first and foremost, I was paying attention to Twitter as usual over the weekend, and my goodness, I saw this tweet come out from this organization called Mediaite. And here's what they say. They posted this. They said, "Watch, Dan Crenshaw and his staff are assaulted." Whoa. Assaulted by right-wingers, shouting, quote, "Eye Patch McCain," and saying he should be hung for treason. Well, that's pretty interesting. So it says here, and we're going to watch some of this clip here, but it says Representative Dan Crenshaw and his staff were violently confronted. Okay, we're going to have to verify that. Violently confronted at the Republican Party of the Texas Convention a short time ago when far-right social media activist, Alex Stein and others, whom described as the Proud Boys, insurrection? They began shouting, quote, "Eye Patch McCain" at him in an attempted insult coined by Tucker Carlson. Unbelievable. A witness to the incident tells Mediaite that in addition to Stein and others being escorted out of the building, quote, "some arrests were made at the scene." No photos or videos have come out at the time of this post. They got physical with multiple people, including hitting them with cameras. What? Well, we're going to watch this. I mean, I've watched a lot of Alex Stein, and I don't think he's a violent person from what I've seen, but he's hitting them with cameras. I mean, you know, I use my selfie stick here, and you know, like this could be, right? This could be like a, I guess it could be true, but you typically don't want to, you know, swing your multi-$1,000 device, you know, cell phone or whatever at somebody's head and crack them over the head with it. So I don't know about this. Hitting them with cameras, a witness said. His campaign manager was assaulted by being pushed aggressively into a pillar. Wow, multiple assaults now. You can see that part in the video above, which was shared by Stein and his blog. Yeah, and so they also zoomed out and they saw this person here, it looks like, with a MAGA hat on. And this guy has a PB hat on, which says Proud Boys. So, wow, Proud Boys gear. And we have a hat. So, several videos were posted, and we will go through them. And Dan Crenshaw even responded to the story. And so let's just kind of piece this all together, shall we? Now, here is the actual assault video. Let's watch that. We'll watch that over there at the Mediaite. Here this one is. Let's watch this quickly.
Eye Patch McCain. Hey, Eye Patch McCain. Look at Eye Patch McCain right here.
Oh, okay.
Rhino, you're a globalist. You're a globalist, Rhino. You're a globalist, Rhino.
Globalist,
hey,
Rhino.
Globalist, Rhino. Eye Patch McCain. Eye Patch McCain. Eye Patch McCain.
Now the gentleman there, that first interaction, right? Take a look at this one right here. That doesn't seem to me. Look at this picture. That doesn't seem to me like old Alex Stein is assaulting anybody. It sort of seems like he's getting pushed right here. And Eye Patch McCain was just walking sort of just like
you're a globalist,
cool
Rhino.
as a cucumber.
Eye Patch McCain.
right?
I passed McCain. I passed McCain.
So let's watch this. Wait, there's no, he's not swinging his camera around. He's not trying to assault anybody. That's physical contact by this guy. I don't know who this guy is, but that is a physical, I mean, that's physical contact there. So now we still don't know, right? This is after the fact. This is sort of after Alex Stein allegedly sort of bumped into the group. Let's finish this. And multiple people now grabbing his camera. And look at Dan Crenshaw. Dan Crenshaw just walking right over there. Look at this Alex Stein. He's got multiple people all over him. He's like being attacked by like 3 different people. This is ridiculous. And here's Eye Patch McCain just walking by. Look at him. He's right here. There's nobody even on him. All right. He's just walking. That cop's right next to him. Here's Alex Stein, who's like at least 7 feet away from Eye Patch McCain. And he's not even involved. I mean, he's not even close to him. Now, here's this. It looks like a MAGA hat, which means that might be a domestic terrorist. And this guy also has a camera on, so probably another domestic terrorist here. Now, let's watch here as Eye Patch McCain wraps this up. He's being attacked. He's got multiple people on him. Okay, so now what we want to do is take a look at this other angle, because I think I had this here. So let's slow down a little bit here. Even on Mediaites, even on their own stinking Twitter post, here, look at this. They posted this video. This is the image from their own tweet. Yeah, a member of the public on Rumble says that looks like Cassady Campbell. We're going to Cassady Campbell. Cassady Campbell has a video, and he totally exonerates Alex Stein. We're going to him next. But here, right, you can see breaking Dan Crenshaw physically assaulted by right-wing attackers. Does this look like Dan Crenshaw? It looks like Dan Crenshaw is sort of leaning back a little bit, and this officer is sort of giving him a little back massage. Maybe a little bit of a back tickle, right? It's going to be okay, Dan. You're going to be okay. Do you like this? Do you like the speed? Do you like it when I go soft or hard, Dan? What do you think? He's not even getting close. Now, meanwhile, Alex Stein has 3 hombres who are attacking him physically, grabbing his camera. And this is ridiculous. I mean, look at this. All right. So they're just palling around all over there. Poor Dan Crenshaw getting his little back tickle over there. And so after Mediaite posts this obviously ridiculous tweet, right? Physically assaulted. Meanwhile, Alex Stein is getting assaulted. Dan Crenshaw comes out here, and Dan now posts this in response. And this is a weird response from a congressman, isn't it? He said this. This is what happens when angry little boys like Alex Stein don't grow up and can't get girlfriends. What? What is he talking about? What kind of a weird thing to say? Is that a gender comment? Is that an ableist comment? I mean, it feels offensive, you know? I don't know. I don't know what kind of offensive that is, but it feels like it is. It feels like a high school like joke, you know? Yeah, well, I have a girlfriend and you don't. And we're going to prom together and you don't even have a date, do you? Okay. That's our elected Congress people. Okay. This is what happens when angry little boys like Alex don't grow up and can't get girlfriends. Hey, Dan, he called you Eye Patch McCain and a globalist who's selling out American interests to Ukraine. So, you know, I think that's a little bit more of a sophisticated conversation than what you're going after here, but it's not even true. He didn't physically assault you, liar. Dan Crenshaw. Oh, all right. So that's our Congress people, right? Very lowbrow, low IQ responses, but look, I know we do a lot of that here, but we're not Congress people on this channel, fortunately. Now, Alex Stein, of course, American hero, is here, and he posted some of this. He posted this actual response. This is his full video. All right, now this is what he posted, okay? This is not what Mediaite posted. And so we can see that this is Dan Crenshaw, and he sort of looks like he knows what he sort of looks like he recognizes Alex Stein, right? Doesn't he? He's like, uh-oh, yikes, this could be a little bit of a problem. So here's what he posted. And of course, follow Alex Stein.
I patched McCain. Hey, I patched McCain. Look at I patched McCain right here. You're a rhino. You're a globalist. You're a globalist rhino.
So I didn't see Alex get physical at all.
Kid, you're a globalist rhino. I patched McCain.
Hand in the camera.
I patched McCain.
Now he's like,
I patched McCain.
You're a globalist.
now there's another one.
You're a globalist rhino.
Nothing at all. And then he clips over to Tucker. So, that's Alex Stein's angle. Now, he posted that on Twitter. Now, this other guy posted this clip. And so we've got two more clips from different angles of this. Here, this comes over from Alex Rossen, and he says, I call out Dan Crenshaw for his World Economic Forum involvement and selling us out with C. Campbell based and Texas GOP convention at hashtag World Economic Forum 2022. And, a lot of the issue with Dan Crenshaw is he was on the Young Global Leaders World Economic Forum. He's somebody who is, a globalist, right? He's all for war in Ukraine, loves war, loves red flag laws. And he's sort of been this caricature of like an American G.I. Joe action figure or something. I mean, they even made that stupid video of all of them parachuting out of airplanes and stuff like this. Like this is all like an action figure movie, It's like, oh, what? Okay, anyways. So this guy, Alex Rossen, does another good job, and he gets Dan from a different angle. And so you can see there was like a little bit of a swarm going on. And here is Crenshaw now getting a full frontal with Mr. Rossen.
This is $5 here, and you're giving Ukraine all this money? And red flag laws too, Dan? That's ridiculous. Dan. Hey, Dan, why are you on the World Economic Forum Young Global Leaders? World Economic Forum Young Global Leaders. Hey, Dan, what's Klaus Schwab's number? You got Klaus Schwab's number?
Oh,
Klaus Schwab's number, Dan. Hey, Dan, World Economic Forum Young Global Leader. Hey, Dan, how are they? Dan, what's better, Aspen or Davos? Hey, Dan, how's Davos? Nice mountains there, Dan? You like Klaus Schwab? Hey, is Klaus Schwab your grandpa, Dan? Do you have Thanksgiving dinner at his house, Dan? Hey, Dan, does Santa Claus give you presents on Christmas, Dan? What are you doing, Charles Barkley? Move. Trying to buck. Dan, Klaus Schwab is literally your daddy. Sir?
All right. And so, of course, if you want to go watch the rest of that, of course, go check out, these guys at football_56OL. And he's there, calling out Dan Crenshaw. And he says specifically, what are you doing there, Dan? Hey, is Klaus Schwabish, is Santa Claus going to give you a Christmas present, Dan, if you do good work, if you're a good boy this year, Dan? And that's a lot of fun, of course, because that guy is, he's got his fingers on all these people. And so that was Alex Rossen giving us a nice little a breakdown. But if you actually, spend a minute on this, right, we can see here that it doesn't look like, right, this is the angle where Alex Stein is going to be coming up, and we can turn the volume down here. Alex Stein is going to be coming up right from this right side, right? Dan is coming to the left, and you can see this lady sort of looking, oh, it's Congressman Eye Patch over there. And here, Alex is still not in frame yet, but then he's going to come right now, right? There it is. You saw that actual camera. It sort of popped into frame there. Right. Let's see if we can get it. So we turn the corner right. We see Alex Stein's camera. Boom, right there. You see that? There it is. Boom, there it is right there. Alex Stein's camera gets in and his hand's out there. Eye patch McCain, eye patch. And that looks like a nice camera. I mean, that's not like a cell phone camera. That's like a nice Sony. I think that might be a Sony. So that's expensive. They're smashing that around. It might be a $3,000 camera for right there. I don't know. But so let's now watch, right? Is there any physical violence from Alex Stein or his team? So, I mean, and maybe some incidental like bumps because it looks like, look at that. Look at that. Look, Alex Stein is getting fully assaulted by 3 different people. All right. There it is. All right. So now we saw that angle. So shout out to Alex Rossen for posting that. We've got one more here from the very, very great and powerful Cassady Campbell, and Alex Stein here at Alex Stein 99 was posting this one as well. And he's saying, look, yeah, we're totally exonerated here. Totally. The video by C. Campbell fully exonerates myself and exposes the lies of Mediaite and the rest of the media out there running for cover, trying to protect Dan Crenshaw. Let's see what we have here. This is from Cassady Campbell, and he posted this one. This is Cassady Campbell on his Twitter account. Actor, comedian, Jesus Christ is Lord. He's over on YouTube as well. And so please make sure you go follow him and support his work. Here's what he posted.
So as you see Dan Crenshaw getting off the escalator, we approach him, start asking him numerous questions about Ukraine, the World Economic Forum.
So that must have been Rossen. So we saw Rossen in the blue there, right? That's the guy that got him right up when he came out of the gate. So we already watched that clip.
Ukraine, the World Economic Forum, and things like that, and the border.
Okay,
and
so now there, right? I'm not sure if that is him, but that's somebody else who's
and
yelling
there you
it down.
see his staff.
Now we turn the corner, and there's Alex Stein, right? We start to see him sort of poking through the crowd there. And let's see if there's a violent assault here.
And security pushing us.
Okay, we saw the camera now just pokes into frame. We freeze framed that earlier.
Out of the way.
There it is.
And then right there.
There it is. Oh, this lady tripped, right? Oh, was that the assault? Was that the violent assault? Watch this lady.
And then right there.
She tripped. But I don't think there's enough distance there. I don't think that's Alex's fault at all. He's got that smirk on his face, that shit eating. Oh, excuse me. He's got that grin on his face, which is just flawless. That's a 10 out of 10 right there. And it's just perfect. So let's continue on with this.
She trips as she's reaching for Alex Stein.
She trips.
You see this? Watch it right here.
Here it is.
In the slow-mo. Look at her.
That's a trip
she trips
if I ever saw
as
one.
she's going towards
That's
Alex. See, look, she's trying to grab onto him. This guy's trying to grab onto him and push him.
Yeah.
You're going to see in a second here.
That's not Alex's fault. That's that guy's fault.
Look at him grab him.
Look at that.
Look at this.
Look at that by his shirt.
Absolutely ridiculous. And they're both trying to grab his camera.
Well, that's holding.
Alex is
that's
just
holding.
trying to
that's a
hold
10-yard
on
penalty.
to his
Holding.
camera for dear
First
life,
down.
as you can see.
Nope, you're not allowed to do that, buddy.
If both of his hands, look at this right here.
Look.
Both of his hands are on his camera. How could Alex assault anyone? It's ridiculous. Wow. These people from Dan Crenshaw's staff are trying to assault Alex Stein. It's ridiculous.
Yep.
The fake news. They're saying that Alex was trying to assault people. I mean,
did you see that drama? That guy should play for the NBA. Man, all these sports analogies. Look at this guy.
To assault Alex Stein. It's ridiculous.
Here that
fake
guy.
News.
Look. If you're gonna fight over the camera like that, my friend, you gotta be prepared. Now he's almost gonna flop right here.
They're
look
saying
at
that
flop.
Alex was trying to assault people. I mean, look at that. They broke his little camera stand thing that he was holding on to. Look at this guy here. He falls back because he loses his balance because he couldn't grab Alex's camera. That was their whole goal, to take Alex Stein's camera. They couldn't do it. Now watch this. They're going to throw him up against the wall. Crenshaw security.
Oh my goodness. If holy moly, right? If that's you right there, woo, man.
His staff. I mean, Alex is complying the whole time.
Was that guy security? Look at this. He's security. He almost got his butt handed to him. He's got to work on his balance a little
bit. Crenshaw security, his staff. I mean, Alex is complying the whole time, really, but they're being like extra aggressive. And it's crazy.
This is too good. Look at that. Look at that duck and turn. Look at this move. Oh my goodness, that twist. Watch this. Yoink. Oh, I can't take it. Let's watch it one more time. It's too good. Oh, it's too good. This is just so perfect. Watch this spin move. Watch this. Spin move. Spin move. Yoink. Oh, I can't do it. I'm going to start crying. All right, so this finishes up. Let's just watch this. This guy did such a good job.
He grabs him by his collar. You're going to see it again. He just grabs him by his collar. Alex Stein's trying to leave.
Ridiculous.
The premises. They're saying, get out, get out. And Alex is going to willfully leave. He's going to go down the escalator. You're going to see in a second. And, the fake news tries to say, yeah, look, they're part of the Proud Boys and this and that. Me and Alex Stein have absolutely zero affiliation with the Proud Boys or anybody else.
Yep.
We work for ourselves. That's it.
So there you go. Man, shout out to those guys. Hilarious. A lot of fun. Please make sure you go follow all of them. I did. Cassady Campbell and Alex Rossen. I already was following Alex Stein. But I mean, really, really hilarious. And the media just turns it into something that's a total circus. And what I liked about these guys is they were having fun with it, right? Eye Patch McCain. We saw the spin move. I mean, it's just brilliant. So, What a fun way to wrap it up today. My goodness, absolutely loved it. All right, and so Eye Patch McCain apparently assaulted by Alex Stein, number 99, prime time Alex Stein. He's on Twitter and he's on YouTube and he's doing good work out there. So be sure to go support what he's got going on. And that, my friends, is it. Now we're going to jump into your questions and your comments and your support, your super chat, and we're going to do that by taking a quick look at what's going on over on Locals. And I got to pull this up. And we had a shout out over, they're chatting away. See the Veils in the house, Tweaks in the house. And we've got some comments that I'm going to pull up right now. Let's see what's here. Grouchy old cat lady started this out and says, Rob, when the government impounds a car, the owner has to pay. Why not bill the owners of the yachts? Why the different treatment? Well, they're not going to pay. And all their financial institutions are now sanctioned, aren't they? So what are they going to pay with? Their Visa got canceled. They've got no money. All their assets are frozen. They have nothing to pay for. And you stole their property from them. So why would they pay you to keep up their stolen property that they don't know that they're going to get back? So it's stupid. They have to do it. It's Jake from Oxford says, Rob, it only costs us $400,000 to take them out. And that's only in fuel. Of course, the American people cover that for us. It's very nice of them. And they were talking about both of Grouchy Old Cat Lady and it's Jake from Oxford, talking about the yacht story from Jake Sullivan. It's Jake from Oxford says, Rob, you have to think outside the box here. Why don't you come here and let me take you on a fishing trip? Talking about these yachts. These yachts are something else. It sounds like Jake and maybe Jake Sullivan and maybe Jen Psaki are out there on a yacht together. I don't know. I took one out last weekend and had a swimming pool inside. Think about it. You're swimming in the indoor swimming pool on top of the ocean. I mean, live live the democratic life at its fullest. Nancy, Liz, Stacy, they can all come with us. Nancy's bathing suit leaves little to the imagination, and it's hot. Jake Sullivan and Nancy Pelosi and Liz Cheney and Stacey Abrams all on a yacht together on some Russian oligarch's yacht floating around the Atlantic in bathing suits. The only thing that would make it worse is if Jerry Nadler showed up, and that we don't even want to know where that goes. Oh my goodness, terrible. Let's see what came in over on YouTube. Here we had STFU FFS. STFU FFS, I think you know what that stands for, says, OMG, I'm in time for a stream. I should buy a lotto ticket. Is the Powerball good these days? I don't even know. I'm glad you're here, STFU. Shifra Morgan came in and said, so happy to make a live. Well, I'm glad you both are here. You both made it. You both must have been skidding in together. I'm glad that you've made it here. It's better when we can do it together, isn't it? Some guy with cancer is here, and some guy with cancer, he threw me off last time. I was like, is that a real name? Some guy with cancer. And he sent me a text message after. He said, sorry for throwing you off. Yes, it is true. But no need to apologize, some guy with cancer. I'm glad you're here. And thanks for the support of the show. And I hope you're doing well. It says here, the puzzle was of a dog and it had 8 pieces. Also sent you a message on Twitter. I think I saw that one. Yeah. So I think I saw that one. And I am pulling it up right now to make sure I got it. Is that the one that we're talking about? There it is. Yeah, here it is. Here it is. I got it. I'm going to respond to you, some guy with cancer, after the show. Zach on Twitter is what we've got here. So good to see you there, Zach. STFU says price of insulin is 100% Biden's fault. In the rest of the world, insulin costs $12 a month, but in the U.S., it's $98 a month. And Joe repealed the Trump price limits. Yeah, like it's not good. I don't want people to be, dying because they can't afford their medication. Like, that's ridiculous. But I don't know that that's a global economic impact for the world, is it? I don't know. But Joe Biden seems to think it is. Curtis Bartle says, Swarjar. Did I drop some profanity today? I might have, sometimes I can't help it. And I will add to the Swarjar for sure. Rebel from the waist down says, Chairman Jerry Nadler to appear in Pampers ad campaign. Jerry Nadler would sell a lot of diapers. I mean, he's a walking, it's like, when they bring out like Tom Brady and he's like, this is what I use to make my elbow feel better. And you're like, wow, if Tom Brady uses that for his elbow, it must be some really good elbow ointment or whatever it is. Same thing with Jerry Nadler. They could just say, Jerry, look, diapers for adults. Jerry Nadler uses our brand. All right. That means that these puppies are rated for 50 pounds of excrement, all right? We have the most elastic things that go around your legs, the most elastic waistbands, 50 pounds rated, no problem. Don't tell anybody, but I mean, I could probably get up to 60, but don't push it, right? 50 is a safe spot. And because Jerry, I mean, he's around there. He's waddling around with 35, 40 pounds on a daily basis. So if he can, in other words, if those Pampers can contain him, they can probably contain anybody. It's like buying from Tom Brady, you know. Here we have another one from Marc Pate. No question, but a nice dono there, Mark. Thank you for that. Grateful that you're here, and I appreciate all the support. Molly Dolly says, hey, off topic, Rob, have you researched the gubernatorial candidates for Arizona? I want to choose the one who is the most relaxed regarding COVID-19 restrictions. I haven't yet, Molly. We have a lot going right now. We've got Carrie Lake sort of making the most noise. I know a lot of people have some sort of skepticism about her, you know, kind of saying a lot of good stuff, and people are wondering, didn't you vote for Obama or something like that? And so I don't really know. But there are a lot of interesting races in Arizona. The one that I am very excited about is Blake Masters. I think that he's going to be a powerful candidate for Arizona in the Senate, and I'm hopeful that he wins. But I haven't taken a lot of looks at the governor's race, Molly, to be honest. But as that gets nearer, I'm sure that I will. Lava Java Lava's here, says, I patch McCain, just shouting it loud and clear. I patch McCain. I patch McCain. Good to see you, Lava. Sean Brem is here, says $400 plus in property damage is usually a felony, guys. Yeah, and I don't know where were they, in Texas? So I don't know what the Texas laws are. But yeah, I mean, you know, if you break somebody's pencil, that's typically a different crime than if you break somebody's iPhone, or even worse than that, right? Somebody's $4,000 or $5,000 camera and their gear, right? It's not, you don't get to break stuff. And it seems like that they were trying to do that almost. And Alex Stein didn't deserve that. It sounds like, you know, I would think that you can certainly, you know, ask questions of journalists and get in their faces and things like that. But you know, security also has a responsibility and a right to protect their candidates. But what I don't like about this story is that they said that he assaulted them, right? That's not true. That's not true at all. It's fake. Yes, there was a like physicality there, but it wasn't Alex Stein and people with him against Crenshaw. It was Crenshaw's people against Alex. And so, you know, you just got to be, I think, a little bit more honest if you're an elected leader, but that's obviously not the case. It was good to see you, Sean. Thank you for that. Geomancy Games is here, says, come support a fellow content creator. Love you, Rob. Geomancy Games, he's on YouTube. Subscribe over on YouTube if you want to support his work. He does gaming and retro games, right, Geo? I think they're retro games, which are some of the best games. What was I? Oh, I was playing the other day, playing a little bit of New World, Amazon's game. I really want to play Elden Ring or just play around with it, but NVIDIA Shield doesn't have it available on their platform, which is very annoying. But we'll have to see if it comes down the pike at a later time. Good to see you, Gio. And STFU says, one enema and Fat Jerry Nadler could be something in a matchbox. Could be something in a matchbox. You know, he could be, yeah. I think what you're saying is that there could be a problematic explosion with Jerry Nadler, which could be very true. There's a lot of gaseous odors that are in that vicinity, and that could lead to explosive problems for all of us. And those were over from YouTube. Let's take a quick look at what else we've got over on locals. It's Jake from Oxford, got that one. The Veil, see the Veil's here. Did I hear about Yatchs? Says, so since the USA is kind enough to use our tax dollars to take care of these yachts, could I get paid by the Russian US government to maintain Bezos's yacht? I mean, I wouldn't want to live on a yacht. Do we have enough yachts owned by millionaires and billionaires in the US to house every homeless person here? I mean, it's all about optics and sanctions, right? That's from See the Veil. I mean, look, if you're going to have, I don't disagree, See the Veil. Can we use it? Can we at least use it? Like, can we sign up to use that yacht? Like, I'll sign up for it. If we're going to be paying for it, can I take it out for a spin? Yes, I want all of the butlers and everything included. Yeah. Can we sign up for it? Where's the sign up sheet? I mean, it's ours now, right? The Veil says, hey, Robert, where may I send you an email? Just send it right over to robert@rrlawaz.com and I will take a look at it. This is a very big comment, See the Veil, so I'm not going to read this one here. The big, long comments, just so everybody knows, I'll read after the show, but because they're so sort of long, it kind of breaks up the Q&A format. So I will save that, or if this is what you're going to send me an email about, See the Veil, send that to me. Vientica says, I don't recall ever seeing a pro-Biden bumper sticker and decals. Just saying. Pro-Biden, I don't know what that topic is on. Oh, in general? I mean, I haven't seen them in general either. And this was a big surprise to me in Arizona. I was surprised that Arizona went blue because, I mean, literally everywhere in Arizona, there was Trump everywhere. Trump signs, Trump flags, Trump decals, Trump hats, Trump everything. And so, I mean, just walking around, right, I would have said, yeah, it's going for Trump. Like, no way. Like, no, not even close. And it didn't. And I was like, wow. Okay. You know, and there's some truth to that. Like, I know people will kind of mock you and they'll say, oh, yeah, what are you getting your election polling from yard signs? And it's like, yeah, there is some truth to that, right? If you study that, they'll see that there are some correlation between yard sign densities and voting patterns, right? Because it's sort of indicative of how people vote. And I just didn't see it. And it felt weird to me that would have been how Arizona went. The Veil is here, says, yeah, I'd say have them represent you. My thought is if there's enough proof, then the Fed needs to be held accountable, not the agency itself. The personnel need to be held accountable for violating their duties. That's from See the Veil. Shifra Morgan's here, says, I'm so happy to catch a live show. I'm glad that you're here, Shifra. We have RS Brem is here, says, Rob, any interest in seeking pro hoc vice for the 11th Circuit to represent on a civil case? So I'm not going to read that because if that is you, then I don't want to read that here. But I'll come back to that. Karaoke Princess is here, says, is World War III coming? I hope not. I mean, I would ideally no. Ideally, the answer on that one would be no. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I think a lot of people might say yes. Might say we might be sort of in the early stages of it. I don't know. I hope not. Tweak says, are you doing a live show today? Yes, Tweak. We are doing a live show today. We are live right now, in fact. So it's good to see you. And let me do a quick refresh on this before we jump into the... before we wrap it up for the day. Let's see here. I just saw a super chat come in from STFU. And another one from former LEO that I'm not going to put on here. We Star Lee is here, says from Fleckus Talks is here, Shop Fleckus. We Star Lee is here, says Crenshaw sucks 22. So go shop from Fleckas. And Vienticus is the swear jar, says is what I tell people when they use profanity. Curtis Bartle chose to pay his dues by super chat. Oh, oh. Well, I should probably do that too, right? When I use those no profanity words, yeah, I should probably swear jar it up. And that's a good protocol, Vienticus. I appreciate that. All right, and I think that's it, my friend. Now, before we wrap up, I do have a couple things to share with you from our new mind map. So I remember that I've been posting a lot of member-only videos. So this is a good way to support the content and the work that we do. You can see here's just a quick snippet from YouTube. Yesterday or this morning, I posted a Biden video on an update, 18 minutes. Yesterday, Phoenix Biker Gang's the name of that title. I was walking around and these guys were doing wheelies on their bicycles. It was pretty cool. So I posted that one. The day before that, walking around in sort of an overcast Phoenix. And basically these videos are to carry on the conversation in between the shows that take place. And so if you do become a member, then you're going to get access to those videos, whether you join up on Locals or on YouTube. Very much appreciated. And also, if you join up, we've got an event coming up. So if you are a supporter for this show, for this meeting, it's going to be any supporter on YouTube for the following meetings. It's probably only going to be the shout out level and above, but this time it's going to be for everybody. So come and join us Thursday, June 30th. I'm pretty excited about this. We've been sort of workshopping this in the members videos, this idea being that we get together and we do what's called a mastermind. All right. Now, mastermind, it comes from this book, an old book written in the early 1900s by Napoleon Hill called Think and Grow Rich. And if you read it, and I think it's public record now, it's available now, but you can actually listen to the audiobook on YouTube. And I would go to chapter 10, and it talks about this concept of what's called a mastermind. And it talks about This being an organization, a group of people that come together and they get organized and they intelligently direct their knowledge, right? This is a screenshot from the book. Organizing and intelligently directing knowledge, forming cooperative alliances, saying that these have been the basis of nearly every great fortune, right? This book is sort of about money, but it's beyond that, right? It's about success. Your understanding of this cooperative alliance can form the great truth that will help you in your life. And so what I would like to do is, I'm a part of many of these different networking groups and coaching organizations. And so we will regularly come together and do these masterminds. I'm about once a month, I'm in these different groups. And what I do is I synthesize all these things into a mind map. And the mind map is something that I would love to go through with you. This is, you can see an early version of it. It's the Mastermind Mind Map. We're going to talk about different filters in life, like different types of ways of interpreting the world. We're going to talk about some of the best books that I have covered and talked about. We're going to talk about the different practices for success and fitness and happiness, things like different people that have really stood out through these different meetings. We're also going to talk about some crypto stuff, right? Crypto in every one of these networking groups comes up. A lot of very smart people know what's going on with it. And we'll talk about the state of our lives, right? We talked at the last meeting that I was at last weekend, a lot about the current state of the war, a state of war, and not just like Ukraine war, the state of war that society happens to be in. And so I've got tons of notes and tons of stuff that is I think a lot of fun, that it would be fun to share with you. And if you want to come and be a part of that conversation, we're going to keep it for members only, Thursday, June 30th at 12:30 Pacific, which means that's going to be about 3:30 Eastern. And then that will leave us enough time to do a live stream show, maybe after that date. So mark that down. If you are a member, then you can come and join on that, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Now, before we also get out of here, remember some time ago, we had shout outs that would go out to people who were supporting the program. And this is the shout out level for everybody on YouTube. Big welcomes to James Hawthorne, Geocast, Glenn Tallman, Patrick Vanderlind, Daniel Chapman, Kareem165, Henry Dixon, and Mr. J-Bug, who are all supporting the work by joining at the shout out level on YouTube. And on locals, we had a lot of people sign up, and I'm still fleshing this list out. But big welcomes to Kathy, aka Integrity is Vital. Sent me a very nice message. I got that, Kathy. Thanks for your support. Zeeks, we've got Jellennam, Olds Ven, Run Cherry, Hack, Wah Good, RS Brem signed up, Knowledge Tree, Susan Scott, Fidgy Baby, and others. We have Integrity is Vital, Susanna, Sharon Plotnick, Molly May, We Star Lee, Tessa Michelle, Montana Leda, Freedom Flugel, Janio, and Bruzon are all here. Now, also, if you want to be a super supporter of the show, like these people, Dr. AEMB and David B3 and Chris Romero, you can join at that upper tier member level, which is the Spotlight supporter level. And that means you get a permanent place, as long as you're a member, at the Spotlight tier on the mind map. And you can see, right? It's very powerful position to be here. This is valuable real estate here. Dr. EMB, David B3, and Chris Romero are all there. And if you want a logo, if you want to put a link to, an online profile or a link to a business or something, you can do that, right? We can put some real estate in here and support the show, and we can make this sort of a win-win for both of us. So shout outs to these three very, very supportive individuals who are supporting the work that we do. And then lastly, but not leastly, quick explainers on how to actually join. watchingthewatchers.locals.com. You can join as a member on YouTube by just clicking that join button right next to the subscribe. And lastly, of course, we very much appreciate your referrals to our law firm, the R&R Law Group, where we help good people charged with crimes find safety, clarity, and hope, not only in their cases, but beyond that in their lives. And that, my friends, is our first debut of the new mind map. And we're going to start doing some show notes on here and just kind of close these up and string some of the stories together. And so I'm excited to share that with you. I think this will be a useful tool for the conversations we have, and we won't spend so much time on the nuts and bolts of this next time. But I'm very excited about our member mastermind coming up. I hope you join us on that. We are wrapped up for the day. Final shout outs to those of you in the chat. Jesse's here. Thomas Zinda. Martin Coons is here. Chris N. Lean also in the house. Shout out to Scott. Lava Java Lava playing hooky over on locals. We've got Radices in the house. JC the Music Man. Welcome, JC the Music Man. Tweaks here. See the Veil as well. And Molly Pop Inc. was here earlier, and Calvin. We were talking about Calvin. Hopefully Calvin's doing well. Calvin got hit by a car, unfortunately, and was all bandaged up, and we talked about him in our locals community, and so hopefully he's doing well. Radice's over there as well. Final shout-outs to my friends over on Rumble. Dog Digger, Vienticus Prime, Man vs. Yard, Blue Bunny, 420, Soul Wound, and others are all over there. And that, my friends, is it for us for the day. I want to thank you for being a part of the show, for your generous super chats, for your brilliant insights and your comments, and for being a part of the conversation. We are going to carry it on tomorrow. We're going to do it all again. Oh, by the way, tomorrow is the January 6th hearing taking place, I think, 10 a.m. Eastern. Is that right? I think it's 10 a.m. Eastern, so it's bright and early. We are not going to be covering that hearing, right? Previously, I explained that there was a problem with YouTube. They don't want you to sort of talk about some of Trump's statements. And so I don't want to jeopardize the channel by broadcasting it. And number two, it's boring as heck. It's one of the most painful things that we've ever done here together. And we've read through hundreds of pages of transcripts together. And that was more enjoyable than listening to Judge Ludwig stumble over himself for 2.5 hours. So we're just not going to cover it. Tomorrow, there will be a synopsis. Okay, we're going to synthesize everything and we'll break it down exactly what happened. But we'll do it later at the same time, and we'll spare ourselves a lot of the misery. So we'll be back here to do that again. In the meantime, my friends, I hope you get some good sleep, some good rest, get some good food in that belly if you haven't had dinner yet, and get energized, because my goodness, we've got to be back here to do it all again tomorrow. But that's it for me, my friends. Have a tremendous evening. Sleep very well. See you right back here on the next one. Bye-bye.